Cuphead is a challenging game, and being the best, most humble gamer of all time, I decided to get all of the game's achievements with 100 lives. I'd previously done the achievements on Nintendo Switch, and it took a couple more deaths. But today, this man will say a number below 100 at the end of the playthrough. The game opens up with a storybook explaining the game's story. Genius. Basically, the two children bet their souls and lose to the actual devil. So logically, Cuphead and Mugman now have to murder others for their freedom. I do the tutorial to get a coin, and then talk to this fellow for 3 more. I report to Porkrind's Emporium to buy a better weapon and equip it, then take a shortcut to the first level. This stage, a running gun, is one of the 6 that is not a boss battle, and I need to beat them all without killing any enemies for the Pacifist achievement. I use tight movement and a bit of invincibility frames to make it out, and take the newly built path to Isle 1's Mausoleum. This is a short level where you parry ghosts to protect Miss Chalice, who grants a super among completion, but more importantly, access to the DLC. The base game released in 2017, with the DLC being added in 2022, adding 14 new achievements, new bosses, and what I wanted, the new playable character, the aforementioned. She combines many of Cuphead's optional powers to create a new funky mode, which makes 100 lives manageable. With my coins from the level, I also buy the crack shot, possibly the best weapon, and also the unknown relic that I would need later to obtain great power. I then finally go into my first boss fight, which is the main focus of the game. Hard but fair bosses with a gorgeous hand-drawn art style. Glumstone the Giant starts with a phase that has you facing the man himself, cycling through a couple of attacks. Phase 2 has him throwing a ball between his hands, with hand puppets of the devil and the devil's sidekick in this game, Mr. King Dice. Phase 3 has Glumstone gobble us and fight his uvula? I don't really know. He gets rid of our platform, which nearly kills me here, but I die anyway. I pull through on the next try and take out our first boss. This grants 3 achievements. Next I fight Mortimer Freeze, the Snow Wizard. His first phase has him floating left to right, sending down hazards, then he morphs into a snowman, where I die again. And again, and again. From now on, I will just state the deaths, if any, before the boss. The last phase is really easy actually. He turns into a snowflake that has attacks so easy to dodge that I do it without getting hit, getting the perfect run trophy. I head to fight the Howling Aces, that I will come back to, but I decided to go back and beat the base game after dying twice more. On Isle 2 there is the best super in the game, so I set out to reach it by defeating the 5 bosses in Isle 1. Goopy Legrand. Phase 1 moves left to right, stops to attack. Phase 2 moves left to right and stops to attack. Phase 3 moves left to right and stops to attack. Next I tackle the second running gun, where I die 4 times, escaping on 1 HP. The Root Pack. Potato Phase. He shoots dirt and worms, which are easily dodged. Onion Phase. It cries hostile tears, which are easily dodged. Carrot Phase. He sends mini carrots and psychic rays. Too easy. Ribian Croaks. This boss fight has 2 frog brethren with disconnected attacks in the first 2 phases, then a slot machine which gives random attacks in the third. I get the tigers twice and finish the boss on 1 HP. Cagney Carnation. He only has 2 phases, with the first having few attacks. He grows frustrated and then takes the ground and periodically blocks the platforms. With careful jumps and dashes, I make it through and come out to a different type of level, not before buying some new weapons and charms. I select the Heart Ring charm, allowing for more HP, and go into the Hildeberg boss battle. Some levels have you flying a plane in this game, which allows for different types of bosses, such as bullet hells. In these levels, dash is swapped for a shrink move, where you can dodge easier but have limited damage and range. There is an achievement for beating a boss with only these bullets, which I'm not looking forward to. This boss starts simple enough with Hildeberg throwing tornadoes, until she leaves with a ball taking her place. The ball goes up and down, stopping to attack, and then phase 1 repeats, this time with a Pegasus, until Betty Boop gets so angry that she turns into the moon. This phase is easy, as when she extends, the special ability hits repeatedly, completing Isle 1. I give the soul to Mr. King Dice and head in to fight Beppy the Clown. Stage 1, he dashes from left to right. Stage 2, he turns into a balloon and sends balloon dogs. Stage 3, he rides a merry-go-round horse and shoots horseshoes. And finally, he turns into a fairground ride that you have to jump across, avoiding his minions. I also defeat him with an extra special move for Ceramic Strike. Next I tackled Baroness von Bonbon, but first I take out 3 of her sweet servants, before she chases us, literally losing her head. A plane boss next, featuring Jimmy the Great. The genie sends treasure to dodge, then sends us through a maze. A sarcophagus opens at the end, with Jimmy the Great inside, shooting planets from his eyes. The next phase has him reading Cuphead's mind and creating a puppet, while his turban sprays bullets in a predictable pattern. The final phase includes Jimmy the Great becoming Jimmy the Giant, as 3 pyramids block certain areas of the screen. We stay in the air to fight Wally Warbles, the cuckoo clock bird. First he shoots simple projectiles, into then the first true bullet hell of this game. The screen fills with feathers from Wally, taking breaks when he gets tired. Then comes his son, Willy Wobbles, who you have to slide in and out of his shield to beat. Then Wally returns, fighting on his deathbed. Him and his paramedics throw bullets and pills, and I hit 100 parries before waving Wally goodbye. Defeating Wally unlocks the second mausoleum, where I unlock Super Number 2, which gives Miss Chalice an extra hit, which is useful if you're trying to not die. I head into Run and Gun 3 with my new power and parry a balloon 5 times without hitting the ground. I die on this level twice before making it past the hot dog at the end, of course without killing anyone. I shoot over to Run and Gun 4 and abuse the extra life again to make it through with 5 deaths. Grim Matchstick, the final boss of this isle, is responsible for many broken controllers around the world. It starts with him in front, shooting eye lasers, fireballs, and sometimes his tail comes up also. He then flies behind, making him difficult to hit, especially when his fire minions are hurtling themselves at Miss Chalice. Completion of this phase leads to the final and hardest stage. He evolves to have 3 heads, which can all fire projectiles, and even block the middle of the screen, breathing fire sometimes. Managing all of this while jumping away and looking back to shoot is hard but doable, in order to finish Isle 2. I report back to Mr. King Dice and then head straight into Rumour Honeybottoms, the Queen Bee. It starts by taking out her chief police officer, then herself, and then she turns into a plane with this evil spell. The stage continuously rises until the bee is butchered, marking 10 bosses beaten with Miss Chalice. Captain Brinybeard starts by calling random accomplice until his ship takes over in frustration. Then a running gun, dying once, followed by the final Colosseum, also dying here somehow. I obtained all the super arts after completed. Then came Werner Werman, a rat boss that gets eaten by a cat, but turns out to be controlling it in the end. The final running gun took me 3 deaths to figure out actually. It ends in a chase with a monster parkouring across these brittle platforms. I complete the level for 2 achievements, one for getting every coin in every level, and of course, the pacifist. Sally stage play followed, taking stage at her job as an actress in a theatre through different stages of a play. First with her wedding, then with a baby, then as a goddess of thunder and sea, and finally where she is being praised by the crowd, throwing roses. A flying level filled the next fight, including this bullet hell robot, which had me not blinking. The Phantom Express was a train level where you control the platform, battling a ghost, into a skeleton, into whatever these are, into the train itself, where you parry its tail to attack the heart to defeat it. The final boss on Isle 3 was Medusa, who can turn you to stone. It ends chasing her down a narrow tunnel, completing Isle 3. Now with all of these bounties bounced, I head to King Dice in literal hell. He makes us play a game where you roll a dice and get a mini-boss at each number. Every mini-boss links to a casino, like number 3 being a cigarette or number 5 being a rabbit in a hat. All the mini-bosses are very simple, and finishing the game, Mr. King Dice attacks, but gets sliced. Rolling 6s pops after this fight, for defeating King Dice without taking a hit. That I didn't do, but okay. And also another for completing the casino. We come to the devil himself, first giving in for a trophy, and then coming back to battle Satan. His first phase has him on a throne, with the ability to morph into 3 animals, a goat, a spider, and a serpent. He also uses his pitchfork to spawn projectiles before diving into the earth, where presumably he has more power. He grows large, bombarding us with bombs and axes before spawning in 2 purple-winged demons to fight on his behalf. Upon their demise, he begins crying, and with careful jumps, I defeat the devil, also getting an A rank on every boss in this isle, something that I still had to do for the first 3. Cuphead and Mugman return to the town as heroes, and the story ends and credits roll. I travel back to Isle 4, picking up the final coin on the way. With the base game complete, I had now unlocked Expert Mode, which makes every boss a little harder. I was scared to start, so I fight the Howling Aces instead. First we fight a pilot bulldog, then his children, Then Sergeant O'Fera, who shoots lasers and even can flip the screen. By the way, the story of the DLC is to collect ingredients for Chef Saltbaker to cook with. Moonshine Mob. First a spider that calls his goons in and places bombs, then next his fair lady that you can pretty much skip camping in this side. The big boss comes out under his henchman's hat. The anteater sucks lower members of the mob, making them bounce around the screen, and produces a fake knockout, which got many people on their first playthrough. I take out the big boss and then go to the best boss in the game, with Esther Winchester, the cow dressed as a cowgirl. She starts off in her saloon, sending ink, and her minions supply more projectiles, filling the screen. Also, they're the only minions in this level, so I would plan to come back here to get the High Hat achievement. She then breaks free from her saloon with a vacuum that sucks your plane, along with golden cash that she then rains down. She ends up sucking herself, turning into a bratwurst ball. In this phase, she spits steaks up top and below, while you try to dodge these cans of beans blocking your path. The final phase has her canned. You have to go in and out of the hot dogs while dodging the peppers and dealing damage, completing the final boss on the island. I then head back to the chef, who decides he wants to battle after all. This first phase is absolute hell. He uses the ingredients he was given to cover the screen until he grabs us, starting phase 2. You need to kill the peppers to hit the big boss until he shatters, sending us to a world of salt, where he takes the form of a dancing pear, until the final form. The heart of the chef chases us as we platform between the two deadly pillars. 1 HP. Now I do some miscellaneous achievements, including the King's Games, a set of 5 bosses that can only be beaten with parries, no shooting. There is a trophy for beating all of them, and then another for beating them all in a row without dying. The pawns pose a little challenge, as does the knight. The bishop goes down in one, and I die on the rook once also. The queen goes down to take them all out for the first time. Then I go back to take the gauntlet, where you defeat them all in a row. I die on the first run on the knight, then miraculously make it to the queen, to die. Then dying on mid-bosses until attempt 6, where again I have 1 HP left and a dream. I shoot the final cannon, winning the king's admiration. The king pays us for his entertainment, so I head over to Pork Grind's Emporium and clear him out. I talk to the people on this podium, and they give me a code that I can input here to get a secret boss known as the Nightmare. This boss is interesting in that, depending on what way you look, each side can either be a devil shooting damaging projectiles or just an angel. And I couldn't wrap my head around it, dying 10 entire times until beating it. This unlocks the ancient relic, which I bought earlier. I need to use it to obtain great power, but first I go back to Isle 1, making a start on beating the game in Expert. I defeat Ribby and Croaks first, dying once, which was the only boss I didn't get an A rank on first time round, so I unlock the Sheriff achievement. I beat the Root Pack next and complete it perfectly, getting the highest rank possible. The next trophies I planned to get were Porcelain Power and the Golden Touch, so I swap out my super for one that does damage. The dragon took me a couple times, but I finish him with my super. I get the achievements along with another for getting an A rank on every boss in Isle 2. And then it was to Isle 3. I actually do the B fight twice to get every A rank on this isle. With Isles 1 to 3 cleared, all I had left to beat was King Dice and the Devil to complete the game on Expert. With the hardest parts to come, I head to knock out every miscellaneous achievement from both the DLC and the base game, and then I will finish off with the Paladin. First I spin 3 times to spawn Jimmy the Great, who grants us 3 more health. I head into King Dice's boss fight and gain a heart from the game, totaling 9. I use the 9 hearts to take out a plain mini-boss with only small bullets. It's not too hard if you play it patiently. I then head to Isle 4, that I need to get an A rank on every level, including 1 S rank, along with killing a boss without killing any of its minions. I fight Esther once to get an A rank on every level, and then again not killing any of her minions. I get an S rank fighting Glumstone the Giant before confronting the final, hardest achievement. Equipping the relic bought in the shop, activated by beating the secret boss, puts you to 1 HP and randomises your weapon. I expected this would be my biggest life sink, as you need to beat multiple bosses in order to upgrade the relic. I start off knocking down Grande La Goop without dying, as well as the Root Pack. I then bounce around a couple of random bosses, dying many times, and land on Jimmy the Great as the last boss I needed to beat to complete Cuphead. But that begs the question, how many deaths? I head over and speak to the lake man to find out.